Welcome to Waiting on the Trade, a monthly comics book club for people who can't keep up with monthly comics. I'm Matt Ledger.
I'm Patrick Fitzgerald Fleck.
And I am Michael Drew.
This month, we're talking about Batman Hush, the 2002 classic from author Jeph Loeb and superstar artist Jim Lee. Now, in case y'all need a refresher, Hush is a 12-part mystery that gathers together all of Batman's greatest friends and foes, including Harold the Mechanic?
I was going to literally what was I about to say? Harold?
Good old Harold.
Harold the Mechanic. You know, all your faves. Robin, Nightwing, Huntress, Harley Quinn, Joker. Harold the Mechanic. Everyone's favorite iconic Batman character.
I know him so well.
I'm a guy who grew up when Harold the Mechanic was around, and I still don't really know Harold the Mechanic's deal, honestly.
He was a mechanic. That was his deal.
So, I mean, his deal is briefly explained in Hush in a way that actually kind of makes sense, right? And, like, I know I'm pretty sure that was, like, an Alan Grant, Norm Breyfogle comic from, like, late 80s. But, like, Harold was around in the early 90s. He was around for, like, Nightfall and shit when Azrael was Batman. But, like...
I recognize some of those words.
No one's putting Harold in the animated series, man. No one's putting Harold in the movies. Why is Harold in this?
It's a very Jeph Loeb character, though.
Okay, you're gonna have to explain how, because I was thinking like the essential question we have to answer in this podcast is Hush good or is Hush bad? I feel like that's it, right? Like that's the thing. And we're gonna figure it out. We don't have to come to a decision right now. But I feel like the moment when Harold the Mechanic is revealed is a very that's when you really start to have the conversation about is Hush good or is Hush bad.
I think you've had that decision made for you prior to that, but that's okay.
I don't know about that actually, because there's a lot that's forgivable about Hush because it's just Batman's greatest hits, right? It's Jim Lee drawing Batman shit, which is dope. There's a reason everyone and their mother was excited about this when I was 12.
So we are so accustomed to having Mike with us that we just blew past our format.
Introducing him? We always forget to introduce the person. It's not just for Mike.
It's true.
I am very insulted by the fact that I was not introduced properly.
Well, please, Mike, introduce yourself to people who may not have heard you on such previous shows as Battlestar Bros, and that's it.
And more
hello.
Other episodes of Battlestar Bros.
Well, my name is Mike. I'm a fellow loser to these two, and I don't know. I don't know much, so I don't know why they have me here, but that's their choice. So now you
okay, Mike. I knew you were going to stumble when you came to introduce yourself because you always do.
No. It's okay because he's listened to all our other episodes, so he knows he should be describing how he got into comic books right now.
No. I don't want to ask Mike that question.
Oh, okay. All right.
You guys, everyone just knows I'm a nerd. The comic books just appeared in my life. No. It's really all Matt's fault.
I was going to say, Matt Ledger appeared in your life.
Matt Ledger appeared in my life. Uninvited. I tried not to have you in my life, and then that happened anyways.
It's true.
So then we started going to the comic store in Eau Claire, and I picked up Wonder Woman and Supergirl, and that was that. Never have I read Batman. This is the only Batman story I have ever read. Interesting fact.
Okay, first off, I'm going to give you some shit because before I left Wisconsin, I gave you these comics, and I gave you Zero Year, and you have not read Zero Year, and I'm upset with you, is what you just said to me now.
I didn't even remember you gave it to me. Oh, shit, I probably is lost.
It's too bad, Mike, because Zero Year's really good.
Is it better than Hush?
I would rather read it again than read Hush. So, first I want Mike to explain to the listening audience how we ended up on Batman Hush from the volume of Sandman, the random volume of Sandman that we promised at the end of last episode. And then we're going to talk about my experiences with Hush when I was 12 years old, I think. And then we'll work from there.
And I'll just be here, so it's fine.
You, Pat, can feel free to make fun of either of us as we explain either of these things.
I never felt I needed permission before, but thank you.
So this, was it at World's End we were going to do? It was at World's End. It was the one where where Sandman is, it's the build up to the end.
Mm-hmm. It's a bunch of short stories, right?
Yeah, it's a bunch of short stories. And I'm like, hey, that's a good Sandman story to do.
Yeah, that would have been a good one.
Because it's not really, you don't spoil the rest of the series by just reading that one.
It's true.
But no, then I heard that Sandman was doing a Netflix series, and I'm like, wait a minute, we probably shouldn't just pick and choose. So that was kind of where I went to the wayside. And then I'm like, hey, Supergirl. which is a Batman, Superman, Supergirl, not a actual Supergirl comic.
Yeah, the also Jeph Loeb authored book in which Batman and Superman find Kara Zor-El, and then she wears stilettos and tries to beat the shit out of Clark.
Oh, that when she's wearing clothing, she wears stilettos. Yes.
I actually asked Kat about Kara's like teenager outfit, like her like yellow shirt, thong, and low-rise jeans, and Kat was like, A, that's semi-accurate to the period, and B, it's more practical than trying to superhero around with long hair without putting it up in like a ponytail or something. So
my theory for that, because listeners, we read that book first.
I have 2 pages of notes on that book that I'm never gonna.
I purchased that book digitally. The first 2
I also
volumes
did, and I own it physically in Wisconsin.
My theory with Supergirl's attire is that her bare midriff, which is always naked throughout the
It's
entire
always
series,
naked. It is never covered.
it absorbs more yellow sun energy, so that's why she's so strong.
Yeah, she can't block it because otherwise she can't be more powerful than Clark.
Yeah, so it just makes sense.
I'm hoping we will one day come back to talk about that comic because I have notes.
It's a wild ride.
We should leave it at that at this point.
It's one of my favorites. We will have to because I really enjoy that comic probably more than I should. And then then we were all like, oh, hey, wait, we've all just read Hush. And I'm like, yeah, let's talk about Hush. And that's the end of the story.
Literally, the impetus was me messaging you on Facebook and being like, I reread Hush because of you. So, like, you're currently winning the week overall.
And literally that day, I had come back home from finding my copy of Hush and reading half of it at home and taking it back with me. It's like, okay, well.
Yeah, so I'm wondering how that happened, because I ended up reading it because one of my coworkers had watched the animated movie that just came out. So we're actually semi-timely on this, because the animated movie just came out.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just re-released the comic in stores. Like, I went to the comic store yesterday, and there was a new edition of the trade paperback, and also like a $1 comic of the first issue. So like we somehow backed ourselves into being timely again, you guys. High fives all around.
We did it.
So Pat, how did you end up reading it?
Swear to God, I was just looking through my books at home. I was like, oh wait, Hush. I remember sort of liking that, and there's like some buzz around it. I should read this again, and I started reading it and was like, you know what, I'll just take it back with me. I don't know why I picked it up, and it's really fortuitous that we did. So I don't know.
Do you still feel like you like it now that you've reread it?
I honestly didn't remember it, so maybe that's telling that it didn't stick with me. So, I mean, it's a Batman story with Batman characters that do Batman things.
It really is just like a greatest hits album. Like, that's how I think of it. Like, it's as many cool Batman things as you can cram into a story for someone who's never read a Batman story before.
This is Styx getting back together in the 90s and trying to retour on all their oldest hits.
For the most part, yeah.
And it worked. Like, I was a big fan of the Styx tours in the 90s. So, no, whatever.
And I mean, in the same way, like, people went nuts for this series when it came out initially, because the big deal was that it was Jim Lee's return to monthly comics after not having drawn monthly comics since, like, oh gosh, I'm going to get the exact date wrong, but like for a while, basically, like, because Jim Lee was a big superstar artist at Marvel, moved over to Image Comics as one of the original founders of Image, eventually got like his studio Wildstorm bought back into DC, and now he's like a co-publisher at DC, and he's very good overall, and like his art is kick-ass. Obviously, if you've read this, like, the art is the star of the show here, I would say.
It is the best part of this comic book.
So everyone was super hyped because it's Jim Lee on art. It's Jeph Loeb, who had come off Long Halloween and Dark Victory, which are good. Like, Long Halloween has that weird bit at the end where it kind of falls apart by everyone's being the holiday killer, which I think is almost what happened here too, honestly. Like,
Jeph Loeb mysteries, go figure, they fall apart at the end.
I really like Dark Victory, honestly. Dark Victory.
I've read that one.
That one's got like the origin of Robin in it, so I'm gonna go hard for it regardless of whether it's good or not.
So you like it?
I mean, overall, yes, but like, oh, Hush, I have so many mixed feelings about. Like, I told you guys at the Facebook chat that like I could talk for an hour about that Supergirl story, right? But like, I could yell at you guys about Hush. I'm so mixed on it because there's so much cool stuff, but also there's a story that doesn't quite hang together.
That's really my problem, is that there are a lot of like it promises so much and it doesn't deliver at all.
It does not quite get there.
And you guys weren't even there for the months of Wizard Magazine's articles being like, who is Hush? Who is Hush? Who is Hush? Like every single month, like the entire comics like zeitgeist was in this story trying to figure out who Hush is. And like the thing is, it's stupidly obvious who Hush is the whole time.
Well, at the beginning, they throw some red herrings out there. That whole like Robinson sign that's cut off to just say Robbins.
Robbins, yeah.
At the beginning, it's like, but yeah, it's definitely. First off, they created the character Thomas Elliot for this series, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, someone I'd never heard of before.
Like, oh, my dear friend from childhood, Dr. Thomas Elliot.
Which does let you get those sweet painted Jim Lee flashbacks at least.
Talking about art, that is my favorite art. All those like watercolored sepia toned flashbacks. That's my favorite.
Really love the Batman and Batgirl one specifically.
Yes.
Like his the one where Barbara Gordon gets to be Batgirl for a second in this.
Yeah, that one shot of the headshot of Batgirl was really good. And I also liked the Green Lantern scene at the very beginning with him. And
wait, so when Battlestar does flashbacks, they're shit.
I mean, yes, that's true. When Battlestar
Jim Lee does flashbacks, they're good.
Yeah, you just said two factual sentences, Mike Drew.
Fine. Fuck you. Continue.
Beautiful sepia-toned watercolors, Mike. If they had done that in Battlestar Galactica.
The Green Lantern one is so odd to me in that, like, when you're writing this story, it's such a self-contained Batman's greatest hit story that now has Alan Scott, the Golden Age Green Lantern, in it.
Yes, it's great. It's fantastic.
That was cool seeing him actually in a Batman comic. I don't remember actually seeing him in any other standalone comics. Like I've never read any of the
Green Lantern
stuff,
classic.
So, yeah, I thought it was cool.
They actually had retconned him at that point, I think, to have originally been like a Gotham City hero too. So like the fact that he was in Metropolis and those guys were in Metropolis would have been cool for Bruce and Tommy, I think.
Well, they say in the comic book he was from Gotham and we were from Gotham. So
yeah,
there you go. There you go. But yeah, another cool thing about this series is that it was in universe, right? It actually corresponded to the series that were also going on
so like
at the time.
in addition to being Jim Lee's kind of return to monthly comics, it's also bringing Jeph Loeb to do like an in continuity Batman story and like a monthly Batman story, and that is honestly pretty sweet. And like then they bring him on for the Batman Superman series after that, I think, because this is so successful essentially. He had done a bunch of Superman comics before this, I think, at this point, like the monthly Superman comic, but not any monthly Batman comics outside of the miniseries.
Jeff, is it talking about or?
Yeah, Jeff. Yeah.
Okay. I'm on first name basis. So.
Yeah. Jim goes on to do Superman comics later, so.
Okay. Yeah, because we got President Lex in this one for just a brief glimpse.
President Lexi Poo.
Which is sure a setup for Batman Superman.
For sure. No, I thought like, wait, I just read this. Wait a second.
Right. Jeph Loeb actually does a really good job in all of his stuff of kind of like pulling threads of his own things like forward. Because in here, Harvey's referencing Long Halloween stuff too. Harvey Dent.
Oh yeah.
Is he?
Yeah, when he's talking about the Joker breaking into his house at Christmas, that's a thing that happened in the Long Halloween. So,
where do we want to go? How do we want to do this, guys?
I want to try a challenge for you guys. I want to try to name what each chapter is about off the top of my head without looking at the book.
I don't know if I can delineate chapters because I didn't really like make a mental note of when the chapter started.
So I'll admit I don't actually own the trade. I was reading Matt's actual comic books that he presumably bought when they were coming out.
Oh yeah, dude, I was psyched as hell with this. This is when I started buying Batman comics regularly, and I kept buying them regularly until the New 52.
Recently.
2011. So from 2002
not that recent.
From 2002 to 2011, I bought Batman comics monthly because of Hush, basically.
You got a problem, man. You got a problem.
Well, I wasn't buying comics monthly, and then everyone was so pumped about this, and Kryptonite Collectibles had it every single month when I'd go to play HeroClix, so I'd just buy it. And I bought all 3 covers for the last issue because the last issue had the normal cover, which is like a third of the triptych that Jim Lee did of the heroes.
Okay.
The fold-out heroes cover and the fold-out villains cover. And I own all 3 of those. Yes, sir.
All right. So, chapter 1: Killer Croc kidnaps little boy.
Mm-hmm.
Rich little boy. He's got some money.
Catwoman's in the background of that one panel, and then she steals some money.
And then she's like, "Oh, money! I want this." And then Batman's like, "Oh no, I gotta chase Catwoman, and then his bat line gets bat cut.
Did you just say bat cut?
Yeah, and he falls to the most dangerous alley where his parents were killed. Right? It's that alley.
Is that the same
Oh,
alley?
yes, absolutely it is. Yeah.
It's the same
because
fucking alley.
Because nothing is a coincidence. Everything is planned.
It's the
Everything
only
is
alley
planned.
in Gotham, Mike. Of
It
course,
is
you
the
landed
only
right.
alley in Gotham. Doesn't matter which buildings you fall between. You landed Crime Alley.
It's Crime Alley.
Why did they walk down it? What's fucking named?
It wasn't at the time.
It wasn't named Crime Alley at the time, Mike.
Well, they should have had some foresight then.
And then
It
crime
was
started
called
happening in
Mugging
it.
Alley. Yeah.
Mugging Alley. It was called Hand Over Those Pearls Alley.
Yeah. What you do with them pearls?
So he crashes. Huntress
crashes.
shows up to defend him, which proves to you that Jeph Loeb's writing a monthly comic in current continuity because Huntress shows up.
Because I had who is Huntress?
She's one of the birds of prey.
Whew, which one, Pat?
The one in this one, which I guess has a new costume, I'm led to believe.
Yeah, a new Jim Lee-ified bare midriff costume. But this Huntress is essentially the daughter of a mob boss who then wants to take down the mob, is the short version.
So Electra Nachios is what you're saying?
Close,
Okay.
but not. But
Without the magic ninjas?
yeah, without loving Batman and without getting killed and being resurrected a bunch.
Well, that's just...
She also has a crossbow, if I remember right.
She does like crossbows.
Well, she's got that going for her.
So yeah, Huntress shows up. She gets Batman in the car. Batman calls his good friend Tommy Elliott, who we've all known about for years.
He didn't call him. He tapped out Morse code
Morse
Morse
codes
coded
for him.
Tommy Elliott.
while semi-conscious, like, sure, Batman, you do you. My good friend, Dr. Thomas Elliott, who I haven't seen since I was 8.
Meanwhile, the quote-unquote titular Hush is doing mysterious stuff
Like standing on top of buildings with robins in the background.
and taking suitcases from Poison Ivy and all that jazz.
Yes.
Bruce Wayne survives. Turns out it's his book.
Fancy that.
There's a really like semi-sinister looking panel of Dr. Elliott saying that he'll survive the surgery, and then it cuts to Hush, who is also Dr. Thomas Elliott, looking at the newspaper and cutting it up with a batarang.
So the next bit is... I don't remember, Poison Ivy?
Killer Croc escapes.
Oh, right, Killer Croc again.
And
Because
then,
he goes to see him in Arkham, and then he escapes Arkham, right?
yeah, and
Okay.
Intentionally.
Of course, all by design.
and I believe issue 3 ends with that very iconic Batman Catwoman kiss
Yes.
on the rooftops.
But the first chapter ends with Catwoman's butt framing Poison Ivy's entire midriff. I think we're overlooking the fact that Catwoman's ass is all over the place in this entire comic.
It's a Jim Lee comic, man. It's not all-star Batman and Robin levels of gratuitous, at least.
Well, I mean,
man.
it's not gratuitous. You play to your strengths. His strength is Catwoman's ass, and he does it good.
It's a leading character. in this.
Actually, really like his Batman in this, and I think his Batman gets better as it goes, even too. Like the really thick Batman in the first chapter is a
Oh, you're
little
talking
much
about
for
his
me.
design. It's like his character is like, okay.
Oh, I mean his
design
character's
is fine.
His character's fine. I mean, he gets a bit too paranoid by the end there, but like I think Jim Lee's Batman is probably one of my top 5 Batmen overall. Agree? Disagree?
I don't know. I'll
You
say
don't
yes.
maintain a list?
I don't. I really don't.
I do not have one.
I mean, obviously, George Clooney Batman, of course, is top.
His top.
Yeah, George Clooney Batman. And then,
Wanna
I'll
reach-
give you a second.
I want to reach through the computer and punch you.
He pulls out a Batman credit card, man. You can't beat that.
That's fair, actually. It's actually kind of good. So from the Batman Catwoman makeout scene, we go to Metropolis for a couple issues.
That's right, because Superman's a thing, and they got to remind you of it.
Superman.
We get to see Bruce for a little bit. I like to see Bruce in my Batman comics.
Yes. Bruce hitting on Lois.
Right in front of Clark.
Bruce came to dunk on Clark and he did it. He was like, "Oh, this building I own, I put a florist in it so I could buy you flowers." What did Clark do for you lately? He probably flew her to like Antarctica or something, though, to be fair. He is kind of Superman and stuff.
That was a good one. It was a good scene.
Yeah, I like seeing those 3 characters interact out of costume a lot, actually. So I like that scene a lot.
But yeah, so Batman's supposed to meet Catwoman once they find out where Poison Ivy is.
And they do.
And they do. They find her.
He broods a little bit on a train first in a like teenage angsty way that I was super into when I was a teenage and angsty.
He's so hormonal, Matt.
But I was 12, Pat,
Well done,
so it resonated with me real hard.
Oh my god, I kissed her, and I
Tell
love
how
her.
much you've grown up since you've turned 16.
I know, right? I'm 17 years old now, and none of this does anything for me.
I kissed Selena, and I want to kiss her again. What does that mean?
What are these feelings I'm feeling right now?
Oh my god.
Feelings.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I will tell you, as a 12-year-old boy, this
resonated?
This meant something to me. I'm not super proud of that currently, but
So yeah, he motes on a train for a little bit, and then he meets up with Catwoman to take out Poison Ivy. But wait, Poison Ivy has somehow ensnared Superman.
and then we get what I think is honestly one of the best Batman-Superman fights to ever happen.
Yes, that is correct. This is what any unnamed Batman versus Superman film should have been.
Unnamed. You literally named it.
But it's the way to do it. Like, you don't... You give them an actual reason to fight, which, I mean, how did Poison Ivy get him? I mean, yeah.
Pheromones?
Lots and lots. Okay, she overdid the pheromones. Somehow she got him.
Well,
Fine.
Spoiler alert for those of you who haven't read this 17-year-old graphic novel. The Riddler gave her synthetic kryptonite lipstick, which is honestly the kind of comic book bullshit I'm into.
Yeah, but the Riddler got it from Lex.
Absolutely got it from Lex, yeah.
That means they had to have found a way to actually crush it into fine enough particles to make into lipstick.
It's Lex Luthor, Mike. He has nothing better to do.
I think he's put kryptonite in everything.
He's probably got an entire line of kryptonite cosmetics.
Oh yeah, like deodorants. It's gonna be great. Aerosols.
Just saying, he divested himself from his company. Less of a supervillain than
literal Lex Luthor. Whatever. We're not having this conversation right
Talia
now.
al Ghul in charge. I mean, what did he think was going to happen? Anyways, so Poison Ivy gets taken down because, of course, Soups has to save Lois when Catwoman drops her off a building.
I mean, that's going to be the answer.
We're skipping over the entire fight, which is set up beautifully to be like every single time Batman says he's winning, he makes sure to acknowledge the fact that Superman's holding back, which is the only way he could possibly win.
Which is correct. Like, I think that's my favorite line in the story too. When he's like, it boils down to the fact that Clark's actually deep down a good person, whereas I'm not.
But okay, so that's a really good line, right? Like that's a really good 12-year-old man.
Absolutely not true at all.
Doesn't make any sense. It's a guy who devoted his life to dressing up like a bat and saving people.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I just let him think he's a bad man. If that's what he needs to think to get through the day, let him think it.
Well, I mean, the comic is just riddled with all this melodramatic lines. Like, we skipped the superstitious cowardly line where it ends with him becoming a monster, and in doing so, I have become the very thing that all monsters become, ... alone.
So that's not in the original single issues. That's a thing that they made, I think, probably for 52, because 52 had like backups of everyone's origin in it. So like that's not in the single issues, and there are like certain pages throughout this book that are not in the original single issues, and they threw me for a loop every single time.
This is a little too much for me. I had to take a break after.
No, that was a lot. Yeah, I agree. Like even the melodramatic like teen romance train angst I can get into still a little bit. I can even get into Batman not thinking he's a good guy because he's Batman and he holds himself to like a higher level of perfection, right? Like whereas he sees Clark and Clark actually is perfect in his eyes. But that one was something else. The one where Alfred's like he's become alone in the origin story is just nonsense. But yeah, so Batman wins the fight eventually by basically quote unquote outsmarting Superman, but again, it's not the real Superman, so
it's also not outsmarting him.
it's playing into exactly what Superman's going to do, which is save his wife from falling to her death.
Sure, but if Superman were actually fighting him, he would save his wife and then proceed to fucking kill him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're all agreed.
Yeah,
at that point, I think. Are we all agreed?
Superman is just a nonsense character, so let's just give a thing. Let's give him all the powers.
That sounds like an entire side episode of the podcast.
That sounds like an episode that I need to be a part of here, because that's bullshit, and I've been arguing with people like that all my goddamn.
That's what I call a boring character.
Oh, okay. Well, you're wrong. Actually, this is where Mike and I gang up on you.
You're wrong, and he's the best character.
My main problem with DC is all their big heroes they're special. They're like Bruce Wayne's a trillionaire.
Clark
Superman's
is
an
not
alien.
special. He's not special at all.
Okay, Mike, I'm going to disagree with you on that one a little bit.
Okay.
Green Lantern is an ace fighter pilot who gets chosen by an alien. Like everyone has these. Like Wonder Woman is an Amazon for God's
Everyone's
sakes.
already top of their game before they become a superhero, yeah.
And at least Marvel had like Peter Parker's just a New Yorker who like
Even,
stumble
like,
onto things.
Clark Kent is like a Pulitzer Prize winning reporter in universe, actually.
Right? Even when he's normal, he's still
Like
outstanding.
even Clark Kent is super.
So I don't know. They're fun, but to relate to them, I just can't. I can't do it.
I mean, just pretend you have $1 trillion and you've written Pulitzer Prize winning articles. It's fine.
Done and done.
Oh yeah, crypto shows up in this chapter.
Crypto shows up all over this goddamn book, friend.
No, he doesn't. He
one
shows up in like
panel.
3 pages.
He cuddles with Catwoman. It's the best scene.
They fight with each other, don't they?
I was gonna say he tries to cuddle with Catwoman, and Catwoman's trying to push him off.
Trying to lick her, and she's like, "Don't even think about it, dog."
That dog could literally kill her if it wanted to.
Yep, it could.
What is with Crypto? He's a dog from Krypton?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
No, he is. Yes.
He was sent in his own.
Any other
doggy
questions,
rocket.
Pat? I don't understand the question.
So he's like the entire, like, all organisms from Krypton get superpowers by our yellow sun?
I mean, obviously. Don't you understand how science works?
This is
All right,
this
cool.
is the science.
It's the different kind of light interacting with their biology, Pat.
Okay,
It
got
makes
it.
it so that horses can be super horses.
Of course. And how do the different colors of kryptonite happen? And which one turns them gay again?
It's definitely pink.
Okay.
There's pink kryptonite.
Oh, there is.
It's in
Yeah.
Batman's Superbad Supergirl. There's a chunk of pink kryptonite. I was like, oh my god, is this story going to take a turn?
Oh, that's right. There is.
It never did.
I'm trying to remember which one that actually shows up. Like, it actually shows up and it does that thing in I think it's a Supergirl story, actually. I think it's like the last Linda Danvers Supergirl story. Yeah, here it is. And Jimmy's like, or he's telling Jimmy that he looks fabulous in his bow tie, essentially.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that would fly these days. I still think it's kind of fun.
I don't think that would work. No.
Where are we? We are at Lois Lane plummeting to her death, but then saved by Superman.
Yep. And then
Yep.
Batman and Superman are like, hey, we are friends, though.
Thanks,
And
Clark.
then it's the opera.
Yes, another opera. Would you think Bruce would just not go to any of those anymore?
No, to be fair, in the comics, it's a movie he goes to and not an opera that he goes to for the crime mugging alley. Oh my god, my pearls stuff.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It's the Mark of Zorro, actually, is the movie specifically.
Yes, I'm remembering this now.
Yeah. It's not a weird opera that somehow has bats in it.
I don't know if it was a bat or just like some trapeze artist like doing whatever.
That
Anyways,
was a dude dressed like a bat for sure.
all right. Batman
Filing
Begins,
around.
makes choices. It's fine. Yeah, they go to the opera and Selena's there. And Bruce is like, oh my god, it's Selena, but she doesn't know it's me. And I totally want to jump her right now, but I can't.
That's some teenage drama bullshit, and I was into it.
Oh boy. Oh boy. And then like Selena has that older woman friend who I sort of liked, but like
That's
didn't-
Leslie.
Good old Leslie. I liked her.
Leslie's good.
Yeah.
She's more of an iconic Batman character than Harold the Mechanic, Pat.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
She's allowed to be in this story.
Is she in the Halle Berry film?
I don't think so.
Well, then she
She's
means
in the,
nothing
She's in
to
the
me.
animated series. If you're in the animated series, you get to be in this story.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And then we learned that the people of Gotham have no idea what an opera should actually be because
They have no idea when they're being mugged, even. Like, no.
Harley Quinn shows up with a bunch of clowns and
guns.
starts mugging them. Yeah, giant guns.
To be fair, she's singing. She is singing.
She's singing about Rice Krispies, Mike.
She's singing though, and technically it could be an opera. I can see where they'd be confused.
Well, the fact that they didn't realize, I don't know, so
The actual factual Batman shows up. Maybe
they're
you take
clapping because they
because
think it's part of the show. It's so, goddamn Gotham, get some class.
like, so you wonder sometimes, why doesn't everyone move away from Gotham City, right? Like, the city has literally been devastated by earthquakes, a plague, The Joker kills people every other week. Like, why does anyone live in Gotham City? It's because they're all dumb. It's because they're all real dumb.
I think they have massive tax breaks for the wealthy. I think that's what just keeps everyone in Gotham.
It's just people that go to the opera and then people who can't afford to move out of Gotham City. And that's it.
Ridiculously rich people who have tax breaks to live there, and then the poor people who have nowhere to go.
I mean, they need the tax break so they can pay for being mugged so often.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect cycle, and it just stays there.
And then we get Jim Lee's Joker that has that creepy nose. That creepy nose.
Well, before we move on, Thomas Elliott's jade ring was said to be really important to him because it was his mother's last gift to him. Spoilers, later on we learned that he's doing this all because he hates Bruce because Bruce's father saved his family.
Are you trying to make sense of the plot right now, Pat?
Yes, I am. I am, Matt. I'm trying to make sense of the plot. Why is Thomas Elliott moved to such rage when his jade ring that his mother gave him was stolen when we find out that he wanted his mother dead? He cut their brakes, Matt. He cut their brakes.
I have thoughts overall when we get to the end about what's going on at the end. And I'm not sure I want to talk about it yet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Not gonna lie, the ending is confusing.
But the fact that Tommy is so upset about the pendant is either he's literally been acting since he was, what age are they? Probably roughly
8.
12 also? 8?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh no, because it has to be from before Bruce's parents died. So it has to be like around 8.
It's to set up his death. That's why he's upset. He knows that Harley Quinn is going to be there. He needs to act upset so he can be in the alleyway supposedly and die.
Oh no, absolutely. But even when they're 8, he's mad though. When he's 8 years old, he's
give it back to me.
Bruce in the face.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole thing. Is like Bruce knows that it means something to him because of that interaction.
Or do we tie it into like him being incredibly greedy because he wants all the fortune of his family, and that includes this jade ring? I don't know. It's a weird character when you get into it, so let's just keep going.
Yeah.
Harley robs people. Tommy is upset that his ring was stolen and chases them. Catwoman gets hurt. Did she get beat up by Harley?
I think she gets shot, yeah.
Yeah. Harley brings out the big guns. And yeah, they run into Joker in the alleyway with a dead Thomas Elliott, supposedly. And Joker with a pistol with a bang flag coming on it, which obviously Batman's like, well, that must have killed him.
I mean, when you put it like that, it sounds really dumb.
Like, where's the bullet coming from, Batman? Detect that.
His other gun, obviously.
Oh, yes.
His flower that shoots bullets.
The greatest detective that's ever lived obviously jumps to the proper conclusion and starts strangling Joker.
Which is, okay, so this is like the Batman's Greatest Hits album, right? And like, should Batman kill the Joker is a Batman's Greatest Hits question. And it was one that, as a person who was just coming to actually reading comics outside of like Batman Adventures for the first time-ish at this point, like reading regular monthly comics for sure, it's a question that like I hadn't super gotten into at this point. Mm-hmm. But at this point, it's a trope to me. At this point, it's of course he's not going to kill the Joker. What are you talking about? It's Batman. So like that's the difference that 17 years makes, I guess, to the point where it's like when I read this the first time, I was like, oh, this is super interesting. And like, of course he should kill the Joker. Like the Joker has done so much terrible shit. And in 17 years, I've come around. I'm like, I mean, like he's not going to kill the Joker though, because he's Batman.
Right. I mean, they're bringing in the whole Jason Todd, right?
Well, I mean, at this point, it's Barbara, it's Jason, it's
Barbara too. Yeah.
Jim Gordon's wife, who he like had just shot in No Man's Land semi-recently at that point.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, like it's those three are the biggies, and there are also others essentially.
I think goddamn Gordon's like, no, he killed my
whole
wife.
Family.
He crippled my daughter, but I can't let you do this. It's like, goddamn it, Jim, you're the best.
Yeah. Jim is the best. And like he wasn't even commissioner at this point, and Jeph Loeb was still like, I'm gonna get Jim Gordon in this story.
Citizen Jim Gordon, yes.
Yeah. There's that penciled page in this one, which is like a super weird but striking page where it's just Jim Lee doing like a blue pencil, and it's Batman cradling Catwoman and the Joker's like faces on both the buildings. That's a super cool page.
Because Selina's trying to talk him down. He's like, no, you don't understand. This could be you. I can't lose anyone else. And it flashes to him like thinking about what would happen.
Yeah.
A little too melodramatic, but the imagery is cool.
I mean, and also like the scene where Batman's literally standing with blood on his hands and like there's blood where the bat symbol would be. Pretty good. Like pretty good art overall. I don't know if we said that enough at this point.
Art good.
Art good.
If it wouldn't drive down ratings, I would argue he would have killed him already.
If he was going to do it, he would do it already.
Yeah, no, I'm saying if it didn't drive down the sales of the comics, because if you kill the Joker, you're not going to have the Joker anymore. So that's why he's not going to kill.
That's the real world explanation, right? Like the in-universe explanation is just like Batman doesn't kill because killing is what made him Batman.
It's going to be really interesting to see how they handle that relationship in the DC cinematic universe, because Batman obviously has no problems with killing in that.
I mean, I don't think we're going to be having the same Batman in that universe at this point, so...
No.
Hush shows up at the end of this issue, except wait, it's Harvey Dent. It's been Harvey Dent the whole time. Or
has it been? Harvey Dent pops up, does some things, goes away.
He flips a coin and you're like, oh, it's that guy. Except it's not that guy.
Is this just Jeph Loeb going back to the character that he did Long Halloween with? Like you wanted to wrap up that character?
He loves himself some Harvey Dent, so I mean, that makes sense.
It goes nowhere. Goes absolutely nowhere.
It gets picked up again for a minute before they turn Harvey Dent back into Two-Face, like immediately, basically. There's like an entire story where it's like, oh, it's Harvey Dent and he's here and he's going to be Gotham's vigilante. Well, Batman's gone for a year and then he can't handle it and he just becomes Two-Face again. That was a meaningful interaction that they had in Hush. The end.
That's sad.
Why do I remember all this stuff, by the way, you guys?
Because you were Matt Ledger and you know Batman. This is one of the cornerstones of Matt Ledger.
Did you say Matman?
Yes, you are Matman. You know about Batman.
I heard. There we go. See,
you're not the first. You won't be the last.
Yeah.
So then Bruce reads "Oh Captain, My Captain" because Bruce's taste in things is terrible. Makes sense, honestly. He doesn't have much time to do stuff other than be Batman.
He really cares about this character, Thomas Elliot, who was very close to him.
Oh yeah, Thomas Elliot, his closest friend from back in the day. Yeah,
who would like all the flashbacks show Tommy being a complete asshole to him. I don't know why Bruce is so desperate
not
for
all of them. Just
most of them.
A good flashback.
Aren't they playing marbles in one? I can't remember.
No,
they try to play chess. And he
it's not chess. It's like a war game of some sort, which is like
Stratego.
supposed to then, yeah, basically. And then it's supposed to seg into the fact that this is all a war game essentially, but. This is the Batman Nightwing issue, and it has Nightwing in it, so I like it.
Yeah, so Nightwing's like, oh, dude, I'm sorry about your best friend that I haven't heard about before. But that's
also, are you and Selena dating now? What's up with that, bro?
Also, you hidden that?
Nightwing's such a gossip. I love that Nightwing's a gossip. Nightwing does approve, which is nice of him.
Who's whispering behind Bruce's back, though? Is it Oracle? It's totally Oracle.
It is.
Yeah.
She listens on everything.
Yeah. And they beat up the Riddler, and apparently the Riddler's not part of the game. The Riddler's just,
Riddler's just riddling.
He's
just riddling things.
Just riddling. And then there's some ash from the only place that ash could be from, Lazarus Pits.
Makes sense.
Which obviously means Ra's al Ghul is behind everything.
It seems a little easy, right, though, Bruce? Like, right, Bruce? World's greatest detective. Maybe it's not him. Maybe it's not Ra's.
I like oh, Bruce is like... It's him. Doesn't even analyze what their motivation would be to do that. He's just like, bad guy does bad thing. Must stop.
I mean, he's just gonna go confront him, right? So that kind of makes sense. But like, it's obviously like if it was Ra's, it would be much more well organized than this, and there would be a reason. Like, what reason does Ra's have to do this? He's not just gonna mess with you to mess with you.
But then, so to get to Ra's,
are we a Ra's podcast or a Ra's podcast?
I'm a Ra's man myself.
All right,
Ra's
got the deciding vote. All right.
It's Ra's.
It's Ra's.
You're wrong.
Like from Frasier.
They're very similar characters. I get what you're saying.
They are. One
of them's the leader of a League of Assassins that like goes through the world trying to enact their ends, and the other one
is Ra's al Ghul. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. No, so he bat jets over to Talia, who's in charge of LexCorp.
Yeah, which I don't remember how that happened, but that's a Jeph Loeb thing.
Because Lex Luthor divested himself.
Yes, but I don't know why he chose Talia al Ghul, because I don't know what they've had to do with each other before that, honestly. But that's a Jeph Loeb thing.
And Talia still got a thing for Batman.
Well, I mean, yeah, like, okay, this is where we talk about who is the best Batman love interest. Let's say who we think it is on the count of 3. I'll give you guys a couple seconds to think.
Okay.
Think about it. Mike, you ready?
No, but we'll do it anyways.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Talia.
Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul. Mike, what did you say?
Robin.
Jeez, you guys.
It's Ra's al Ghul inside the body of Talia.
Oh no, actually, Pat, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for rushing to judge.
Thank you.
You're correct. It is Ra's al Ghul inside the body of Talia in that episode of Batman Beyond.
Yep.
I'm gonna have so many links to put in the show notes for this episode because we haven't explained any of these references because they all just live in my brain cohesively.
Of course.
I mean, who hasn't seen that episode?
Oh, it's a good episode. Only topped by the Clayface episode from the animated series.
Which one?
The Clayface episode where he's a little girl and doesn't know that he's Clayface.
Right. And he's hunting himself.
Yep. Clayface. If you don't know how to write a Batman story, just make everyone Clayface and you're done.
Okay, you're jumping ahead of yourself, sir.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this is an issue where actually like a bunch of weird stuff happens. And I talked about at the beginning how like where it breaks down for me is when Harold shows up. And I think it actually might be earlier than that. I think it might be this issue is where everything starts to break down.
This is what I'm saying.
Because, and Pat, feel free to jump in if you have like similar thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the only reason this issue exists is so that Jim Lee can draw Batman and Ra's al Ghul sword fighting. And he draws the hell out of it. It's real good. But like it's a greatest hits thing that you want to see Jim Lee draw, and that's why this issue happens, essentially. Like Batman fights Ra's al Ghul. Catwoman fights Lady Shiva, who barely rates a new costume, it seems like. Like, of all the character designs in this, Lady Shiva's has got to be the laziest.
But she kicks Catwoman's butt, right?
Oh, which she should. She should just beat the shit out of Catwoman. Catwoman's just just a thief. Lady Shiva's like the best martial artist in the world.
There you go.
And also Harvey Dent shows up to talk to Jim Gordon, which means an amount to you if you've read like Long Halloween and Dark Victory, but if you've only been reading Hush, is just like nonsense and shows up out of nowhere. Like Harvey Dent's just starting to like derail this plan by whoever Hush actually is, apparently. And like it doesn't mean anything to you unless you've read other books. And like Hush is supposed to be the perfect starter Batman comic, right? Like that's the reason people keep recommending it to people.
Yeah.
This is not the perfect starter Batman comic.
Well, no, but it gets you interested to pursue other Batman series like Long Halloween.
So like in order for this to work, Harvey Dent should have shown up before he shoots the Joker, right? Like
yes.
At some point in some form, even if it's just like a scene in Arkham when Killer Croc is there or something, which doesn't work because he has to have an entire plastic surgery on his face to look like Harvey Dent again. But,
well, he shows up to the Joker in Arkham, right?
Yes, he shoots the Joker, shows up to the Joker in Arkham and takes off his bandages, and that's a big reveal, which was actually kind of cool. Like, hey, I have these bandages on because they healed my face and stuff.
Because plastic surgery.
Yeah, which if it was that easy, why didn't it get done forever ago? But whatever.
It was really expensive.
But this is the part of the book where Harvey Dent starts driving the plot, and Harvey Dent wasn't in it until chapter 6, right? No, it would be 4 and 5 are Metropolis, 6 is the Joker at the end, so 7. He wasn't in it until the end of chapter 7, and now he's an integral piece of the plot.
Yes, sir.
Weird. So anyways, that's this is for me where this is the issue where the book starts to break down, because things start to happen because Jeph Loeb wants to see Jim Lee draw it, and because Jeph Loeb likes Harvey Dent a lot.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Oh, so Mike, you didn't actually get to read then the little interlude in the Batcave where Alfred's fixing Batman up and Catwoman's like looking at all his scars then, because that's not in the single issues either.
No, I didn't get to see that.
Oh, where she's like, it's a Catwoman scratch. She's like, oh, you remember that one?
Yeah, that was actually a thing that ran in Wizard Magazine at the time. Like it was like original to Wizard Magazine, and it was a big deal that they got to run like 4 pages of the story or 5 pages of the story or whatever outside of the monthly issues. So like I own that issue of Wizard Magazine, I'm pretty sure.
Of course you do.
Because I wanted those. I think I did. I've definitely read them before. Anyways, now it's Jason Todd time.
Jason Todd.
Jason Todd.
Beaten by a crowbar doesn't take him down.
I was actually just gonna ask you, Pat, what do you know about Jason Todd as a person who's like never like not a big DC Comics universe guy? Is this the part where the rails start to come off for you?
I mean, I know Jason Todd because I've watched and read enough Batman to know that the Joker kidnaps Jason Todd and beats him with a crowbar
And kills him.
and kills him. Yeah.
Blows him up real good.
Mostly because of, is it Batman Beyond where he comes back as crazy Joker?
No,
Or is it
Batman.
animated series?
No, Jason Todd's not actually in the animated series.
Where isn't there one where Jason Todd comes back as Joker?
No, that's Tim Drake. Actually, it's old Tim Drake made into the Joker.
Fine.
You see how all this stuff just lives seamlessly in my brain.
He was beaten to death by Joker with a crowbar. That's what I know about Jason Todd.
That's most of what you need to know, honestly.
Cool.
He was Robin. He got killed. Gordon Freeman could have taken him.
The crowbar? That's a crowbar
Crowbars?
reference?
Yeah.
I think so.
That's a crowbar joke, Mike?
We made a crowbar jump.
Mike, you're a little rusty at this podcasting thing, huh?
I have an almost 7-month-old. I'm rusty at everything outside of raising a child.
That is a fair point.
All right, so how does Jason Todd enter Hush?
Hush.
Hush.
Well, first Tim Drake shows up, and Tim Drake is probably the best Robin, though not the best character to have been Robin.
So Tim Drake is the one who's like, Tim Drake wanted to be Robin. No one else.
He wanted to be Robin real bad, so bad that he found out who Batman was, and then was like, hey, I'm Robin now, essentially. And he's real mad at Catwoman, except it's all an act, because they just want to see what's going to happen. And this is where it starts to break down for me, in that, like, it really starts to break down. Like, last issue was like, okay, the wheels are coming off. How did they know Catwoman was going to steal a bat bike from the Batcave and go down that exact road so that Huntress could cut her off?
Greatest detective ever.
No, that's not Batman making that choice. That's Hush & Co. making that choice.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's complete.
Yeah.
Riddler, best criminal mastermind ever.
Do you want to know, we're jumping ahead here, do you want to know how the Riddler forgets Batman's identity later? Because they were like, oh, we can't let that happen. He gets hit on the head. That's it. That's all. That's it. That's it.
I sort of liked the fact that they just said, yeah, you know the answer, but a riddle is only good if people don't know the answer. So you're not going to tell anyone.
That's actually nonsense. And we'll talk about that when we
I
get
enjoyed
there.
that. It's like, you know what? Sure. At this point, I'll take it.
If you think about the Riddler's motivation for 2 seconds, though.
What motivation did he have, Matt? He had no motivation.
Well,
other than he's Batman's villain. Like,
let's
no
just jump
motivation.
ahead. Jason Todd's not Jason Todd, turns
No,
out.
guess what? Clayface.
Who is he?
Yep.
Oh, Clayface. Oh,
Clayface all the
fancy
time.
that.
That exact thing has actually been done in Batman comics before. Like Clayface, a Clayface looking like Jason Todd. And I didn't know that, obviously, but like, and it's super cool if you don't know that. Like, it's still like, oh, Jason Todd, he's back from the dead. To the point where like later a writer actually brings Jason Todd back from the dead.
Yeah, not too long from this, right? He actually comes
I
back.
actually kind of really love how at the end of this, they haven't found Jason's body.
His body. Yeah.
And that actually halfway sets it up so that he can return, I think. There's really a part of me that wonders if it was supposed to be Jason Todd the whole time, honestly.
It would make such a better ending. Like, motivations would make so much more sense. Yeah, I think it was supposed to be. And DC's like,
We gotta walk it back, but also we might let someone else do it later.
Can you
see
just
how
leave
fans
the door
react.
open for us, though? Thank you.
It's like, by the time the issue where Batman is fighting quote unquote Jason Todd, obviously they've either changed plans or the original plan is still in action of it being Tommy, because he never calls Batman Bruce. And if it was Jason, he'd call Batman Bruce all the time.
Which is the thing. What they say.
Yeah, Batman says in the comic, right?
Yeah.
So like by the time issue 11 of this story comes out, they figured out it's not going to be Jason Todd. But there are actually a decent amount of hints that lead you to believe it's Jason Todd, to the point of like where before he shows up, like Wizard Magazine and the forums and all that stuff were like, oh, it could be Jason Todd because it was the left front tire of the Batmobile, and like it says Robins. It says Robins in this panel. Yeah, like all that stuff that I think was actually purposefully left there to make you believe it's Jason Todd, to the point where, as a fan, you could I think you could make the argument, oh man, what if it was supposed to be Jason Todd the whole time?
I mean, that's where my brain thought it was going.
For sure.
Yeah.
I looked for anything to like find someone talking about that, and I'll look again before we actually put the episode up to see if I can find anything, but I couldn't find anyone talking about that. So as far as I know, it's just a fan theory that it could have, like, maybe it was supposed to be Jason Todd.
Because everyone's pissed that the movie, the big reveal at the end is that Hush is Riddler.
I think that actually. So I was reading about that a little bit as I was prepping because I did get time to try to look a couple things up, and I think that actually might be a better ending, honestly.
But like, so the Lazarus pit like bulked him up. I don't understand.
Oh, I don't know about any of that, but like just the fact that you don't bring Tommy Elliott back from the like for Hush to be Thomas Elliott is so. I don't like to denigrate other people's stories, but it's like stupidly obvious. Like, hey, we introduced this character for this story, and turns out he's the mystery villain we introduced for this story.
Yeah, but the twist is that it wasn't Thomas Elliott; it was Riddler directing him. That's the twist at the end, which isn't a great twist.
It's not actually the Riddler directing him, though. It's them like working together-ish. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, man. We're not quite there yet. We're still in chapter 11.
Okay, sorry.
Bruce has to yell a lot, and then Clayface dissolves, and then he shows up on that bridge, and Harold is there, and that's supposed to be a good cliffhanger.
Well, what leads him to Harold? Because he's like looking for him.
Like Barbara says, hey, this looks like something Harold designed, basically. Like the machine that was in the Bat computer that Batman found because Ra's al Ghul somehow knew it was there and stabbed a sword through it. Which, what?
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. His calling card was to like stab a sword into the Batcave.
Okay, so that's the thing Ra's al Ghul does, actually. That's how he announces himself.
It's his calling card.
It's how he introduced himself in the first story he was in. So,
oh god, and then the subliminal messages so that Batman would think of Thomas Elliott when he was in danger. Ugh, oh boy.
How did Ra's know anything about there being a device in the Bat computer?
I don't think he did. I think it was just complete happenstance that he stabbed the right thing.
But like Batman says it wasn't, and I have to believe Batman because he's the world's greatest detective in the universe of the DC universe.
Dude, all I can think about right now is kissing Selena, so you can't trust him anymore.
He is a little distracted.
Where are we at? Where Jason Todd turned into Clay?
We're at the fact that Hush talking, like quoting Aristotle in the early issues, doesn't make sense with Jason Todd so much. Like, I don't know. It's weird. Like, it could have been Thomas Elliott the whole time.
Which of my villains quote Aristotle? It's like, oh, Batman.
Right, and like he's just like, oh, this killer is a really good shot. He must have trained with Deadshot. It's like there's more than one person that does each thing in this world. Did you know that, Batman?
Greatest detective.
I mean, he's just name dropping everyone in that part.
Yeah, it's just like Jeph Loeb, like, oh, how many cool names can I put in here?
Yeah, Harold gets shot after being surgically healed from being a hunchback or something. I'm not quite sure. It's my first introduction to Harold. He seemed like a nice guy.
Seemed like
He was a nice guy, actually. He built a subway that goes from the Batcave into Gotham City. It was cool.
Had to die to make room for Toy Man.
Yeah, which is a whole whatever.
Harvey Dent shows up again, doesn't he? Right?
Yes, he does. How do you feel about Jeph Loeb doing the most Jeph Loeb thing, which is I solved the mystery, but I'm not going to prove it to you so that I can leave it open-ended just in case at the end?
Isn't that how they all do it?
Nope. Most mystery writers definitively solve the mystery when they get to the end, but Jeph Loeb gives you the long Halloween, and then at the end you have to try to like write a literal 2,000-word blog post about this is who I think did what win. Go to mattreadscomics.com. We've got one of those. It's such a Jeph Loeb thing to be like, oh, wouldn't it be cooler if the mystery was still a mystery at the end? No, the point of the mystery story is you solve the mystery definitively. I've been following you for an actual factual year, and I want to know who did what and how.
How is the mystery still open? Because Elliott's body wasn't found?
And he doesn't get to actually take the bandages off his face, why is Tommy wearing bandages? Two-Face would be wearing bandages because he's just had that surgery. Jason Todd might be wearing bandages because he's been risen from the actual dead.
Is this the first time that Thomas Elliott has taken on the Hush persona? Maybe? In the comic?
Well, yes. I mean, we're supposed to assume that it was him in issue 2 on the rooftop.
On the rooftop.
Aristotle quotes. But there have been so many quote unquote hushes, it's hard to even track which ones are supposed to have been him and which ones are Two-Face or which one's Clayface, right? Like,
Yeah.
so like just, and I mean, he does, like Jeph Loeb does attempt to definitively solve the mystery for us when Batman goes to talk to the Riddler, right? Like that's the wrap up scene. But like, why not just show me Tommy Elliott's face in this battle sequence? Like, even just show me like the bandages like Batman ripping the bandages off. How cool of a visual would that have been?
I feel like it's just comic books, though, right? You don't like give them everything because you want them to buy the next series that maybe will give you the answer you're looking for.
I guess, but to me, it just feels like
tune in next week.
Like, so it tries to have its cake and eat it too, in that multiple characters in the rest of the ending of the book tell us that Hush is Tommy Elliott, right? Like Harvey Dent tells us that, the Riddler tells us that. There's no reason not to believe them. So why not just show us, you know?
Yeah.
Because it leaves the door open for comic book stuff in the future.
But I mean, you even already get to leave a thing open because the Riddler's going to taunt him about Jason Todd's body. You've already got one. You don't need another one. You've got an even better one. I'm much more invested in Jason Todd than Tommy Elliott because turns out I've known Tommy Elliott for about 6 issues of comics.
But this leaves the door open for a Hush series, which I hear that they do bring him back and it's horrible. So
Hush Returns is the worst comics that I've ever paid money for, and I paid money for the comics where the devil dissolves Spider-Man's marriage. Hush 3 is actually decent.
Oh, okay.
There's a third.
So there's Hush Reloaded. Cool.
Hush Return. I think it's Hush Returns, and then Heart of Hush, because Paul Dini, who is like part of the Batman animated series from the 90s and got to write Detective Comics for a while, was like, oh, Hush, that's actually a good character that I can make work. And he kind of fixed Hush.
Proving my point why they left the door open in this and why this mystery isn't.
You can leave him open to be alive while also letting Batman rip the bandages off to confirm that it's Tommy Elliott.
Yeah, but can you say that when you bought those horrible issues of a horrible comic, you were hoping for the definitive answer from this series?
I probably was. You probably got me there, Pat. You got.
And that's how they got the $5.99 from little Matt Ledger. So Hush.
First Hush leaves via the river, and Superman can't find his body.
What clues him in?
It is the fact that when he's looking through Thomas Elliott's surgery records in Philadelphia, there's records for Arthur Wynn, the inventor of the crossword puzzle. Which, no, I did not have to look at the pages of the comics to recite that to you, by the way.
Oh, Matt. So he's like, oh, that's so zany. Only one person could do this. Riddler.
And apparently the Riddler has been dying of cancer this entire time, except he got better by the Lazarus Pit. And the Lazarus Pit let him figure out that Bruce Wayne is Batman. What? So I was talking about how Harvey Dent showing up in Chapter 7 and doing stuff was nonsense. The Riddler showing up in Chapter 12 and being the mastermind without having even been hinted at prior to this?
Yep.
Whoof. Jeph Loeb.
No, this is pretty terrible writing. Overall, like you've only seen the Joker when he's been robbing the bank, and now he's literally been.
You're talking about the Riddler, actually, right?
Yeah, talking about the Riddler. Sorry, we've only seen him when he was doing that little heist where he was trying to get some money from the armored car and dropping some bad riddles, and then we see Batman do a angsty diss on him, and that doesn't.
What is Riddler's motivation to do any of this other than Batman has defeated me? I'm angry about that.
That's what he says.
He kind of tells you that is his motivation.
He's like, I'm upset because I want to be big too, and no one lets me. So I'm going to do this now.
That's complete bullshit. Kill Batman if you're going to do it.
Okay, first off, it's the Riddler. He's not just going to kill Batman. What do you think he is, an amateur? That's fine. The point of a mystery is to be able to solve the mystery, right? If you give me the clues, I should be able to look at it at the end and say, oh, that makes sense. That's
exactly what I was thinking. Like Agatha Christie gives you all the, you can solve this with what she gives you.
The point of a mystery is that when I get to the end and put all the clues together, I think, wow, this author's really smart. This mystery is really cool. It makes sense. That's sweet. This is nothing. There's literally nothing.
He had cancer. You didn't know that? Oh, sorry.
No, I didn't. No one told me until issue 12. The back 10 pages of issue 12.
Sought medical help from Thomas Eliot for his cancer. Didn't know that? Sorry. Oh, they talked about their motivations and how Thomas Eliot really hated his family.
I mentioned I was from Gotham, and he just wouldn't shut up about how he hated Bruce Wayne. Who does that? Who does
also,
that?
Thomas Eliot is a goddamn psychopath. Like, how did he hide that so long that he wanted to murder his parents?
And his best friend.
Also, if his motivation to murder his parents was just to get money, why did he become a doctor? Like, I don't understand that character in the slightest.
So, like I said, Hush, medium, and we still have to answer the question that I posed at the beginning, which is Hush good or is Hush bad? Let's not answer it yet.
Of course.
Let's finish the story first.
I might leave the door open for next episode. We'll see.
God damn it. You're going to leave the bandages on of your answer to is Hush good or is Hush bad?
That's right.
So that's the question we have to answer in this podcast. Hush Returns, terrible. Heart of Hush actually kind of like makes the hey, I hate Bruce and this is why work in an interesting way. It's still
Did Bruce
it's still
steal one of
bonkers.
his war game pieces? Because that would get me. You don't mess with other man's miniatures.
So he had his parent, like his dad died. Tommy Elliott's dad dies. His mom lives. He's stuck at home caring for his mom because she's like an invalid after the surgery. Yes.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Bruce's parents die. Bruce is jet setting around the world. Tommy like sees that he's like got all the money. And like that's what Tommy wanted from his thing. So Tommy gets even more angry at him.
Yep.
Like as the years go on, basically until his mom dies. So like it's still comic book bananas, but it's comic book bananas in a way that kind of works.
Well, can't you just like pull a reverse Munchausen and like poison his mom if she's so frail? Like, Tommy, take some chutzpah. I mean, you cut brake lines, but you can't poison.
Just finish the job, boy. Come on,
do it.
Yeah.
Take a pillow and.
Oh no, we tripped down the stairs. Oh my.
Imagine if there was a scene at the beginning of this book, just a scene. The very first page of Batman 608 which is the first issue of the run. The first page is just caption, the past, a Lazarus pit. You cut to someone walking into a Lazarus pit and then them walking out, and you don't see who it is. That's the first page of the book.
It's Riddler.
Sure.
Right?
Sure, it's Riddler.
That would
what if
probably...
it's Jason Todd? What if it's anyone? Like, just something to set it up before chapter 12.
That would fix a lot of it, yeah. I think that would have been good. That would have been good.
How did Riddler find out about Lazarus pits, and then how did he find one?
I mean, finding out about Lazarus pits is whatever. There are a billion of them in the DC universe at this point, to the point where there's an actual comic about the Lazarus pits getting shut down, so there's only like one left so that they're special again. So finding out about it, easy. Finding one, hard. I don't understand that.
Yeah, like, and if Roz said that, or Raish said that, once it's used, it's gross because it's got your ickiness in it.
It's got your Riddler stuff all in it, yeah.
Ew, nasty. He doesn't want to use it anymore.
It's got your icky puzzling bits in it.
Oh, he riddled all over the place.
Gross, your riddles are everywhere.
So, like, if it's one and done, you would think that Raish would protect those with, some
Master's
importance. Yeah, like he's got a League of Shadows, right? Or something like that?
Something.
I don't know. But Riddler just flounces in there, dunks himself in it, gets crazy smart, crazy mad. And he's like, you know what? Killer Croc. Let's go find him.
Oh, wait, Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Bruce Wayne, of course. Killer Croc. I've got a...
It doesn't make any goddamn sense. How did he figure out who Batman was?
I mean, it's kind of easy. Who's the richest guy in Gotham? It's Bruce Wayne.
It's true.
Fine, but
like the resources of Batman.
I don't like.
I mean, Tim Drake did it, so I mean, the Riddler should be able to do it.
And he wasn't even dunked in a Lazarus pit, so
I know, right? Tim Drake's really good.
Yeah, I don't like. Gets Killer Croc to kidnap a kid. Gets Poison Ivy to make Killer Croc kidnap a kid.
What is even the actual point of what they're doing, too? Like, what are they doing to Batman? How are they doing it? What is because Tommy mentions the fact that he's going to take Batman to Arkham where everyone else gets the pleasure of, like, unmasking, right?
Sure.
At the end, on the bridge?
Yeah.
So it's like, Killer Croc kidnaps a kid. Batman goes there. He meets up with Catwoman. So that's interesting. But, like, is that even part of their plan? Or is that just a thing that happens. And like we're kind of led to believe at the end that Batman thinks it's a thing that was part of their plan, right? We've got your favorite scene of the entire book, which is where Catwoman says hush.
Why'd you say that?
Why did she say that though? Why did she say that though? He's not wrong.
But like, so they wanted to reveal Bruce Wayne as Batman. That was the big culmination.
Apparently. I mean, we don't get to see it. It's like, it's possibly the coolest original thing that could have happened in this book, and it doesn't happen.
But then at the end, he refuses to tell anyone that he's Batman because he wants to keep the secret. So that
which secret. You say is good and I say is nonsense.
I say I took what I could from the ending of this book.
I think the ending's the weakest part of this, guys. It's not.
Oh, it absolutely
is. It has to be. I don't think anyone's going to argue that.
There's not a whole lot redeeming it to it.
Also, why Riddler? Like,
I think it's because, like, this is another like Long Halloween Dark Victory thing. Like, Jeph Loeb's Riddler in Long Halloween and Dark Victory is kind of the guy who's like not good enough to play. Essentially, like in Long Halloween, he doesn't get killed because it's April Fool's Day. Essentially, like the killer like outlines him in bullets essentially, and like in Dark Victory, I think Batman like kind of roughs him up and has him try to solve the mystery, but I don't think he does it. I don't remember exactly. But like the Riddler's the guy who's not good enough to hang with the rogues, like the rogues gallery in Jeph Loeb's mind, but is also very interesting because he makes it into both those stories, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, how do you make the Riddler dangerous? I guess is it what Hush is about? Question mark. So in order to do these things, they have to know Batman is Bruce Wayne, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which if it's Jason Todd, that makes complete sense because Jason Todd knows Batman is Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
This is true.
So if it's not Jason Todd, you have to explain how these villains know that Batman is Bruce Wayne. And maybe that's where you're like, oh, the smart Batman villain figured it out. The smart one didn't figure it out that he's Bruce Wayne. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Because, it's so out of left field. And it doesn't even make sense that the Riddler would sit on the information because the Riddler's whole deal is that he's trying to outsmart Batman. And what is the best way to outsmart Batman other than like, oh, I figured out your secret and I'm going to tell everyone? Honestly, I think the best part of that Riddler confrontation is the fact that the Riddler taunts him about the fact that Jason's body is not there anymore.
So, controversial idea. He should have stayed together with Catwoman at the end.
But she said hush, Mike. She said hush.
It's monthly Batman comics. You can't change things too much.
I just, they got so hot and heavy so quick, and they end it so quick. It just doesn't mean anything to me at this point, you know?
So apparently in the movie, they change it so that the reason they break up is like Catwoman, after having been through all of this, wants to kill the Riddler, who is also Hush in the movie, and Batman doesn't want to let her. And that's actually kind of much better. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, our story is wrapping up and they don't want him to be in a relationship with Catwoman anymore, so we're going to end it. Meanwhile, in the year, 2018 or whatever, Tom King got to walk up to Batman and Catwoman almost getting married, and then they broke up, and now it looks like they might be getting back together and might actually be getting married again, so we'll see.
Good for those kids.
Fingers crossed. Catwoman's my second favorite Batman love interest, so I'd be down for that.
Yes, after Robin.
I don't know. Like the Catwoman relationship actually progressing to this point is probably one of the biggest deals about this, because Catwoman continues to know that Batman is Bruce Wayne after this, and she didn't know it before this story.
This is true.
And I kind of wish it had just hung around. Like they could have just pretended for the end of this story that they were going to stay together. But I understand that DC as a company is not invested in people having good long-term relationships for the most part. All right, so we've come to the end of the story, you guys. This is where we answer the question: is Hush good or is Hush bad? I want Mike to start because I feel like he hasn't talked enough.
I've been trying. You guys are really. I've been listening to Matt yell about this for an hour and a half.
I told you I could yell about this forever.
I really like the Superman bit. I really like the Catwoman relationship. I really like the. What else do I like? I like the Joker Batman fight. That's fun. That's good old Batman. Should he kill him? Fun. That's fun. I like that. You go ahead and punch him a few times. That'll make you feel better. I just don't know if I care about in the midst of getting all the greatest hits, like there wasn't any payoff to the actual mystery. So I don't, as a mystery, it's not good. As a Batman story, I think it's good. I'll say it's good because I want to, but it's not objectively good.
All right, Pat. I feel like I'm gonna yell the most about it, so I want you guys to go first.
I mean, I'm indifferent, really. I mean, it's a Batman romp through all the big names of Batman. So I could see it as a good introduction. And if people want to know what the heck are Lazarus Pits, who the heck is Jason Todd, why is Clayface turning into other people, it's an open door to like delve into more DC stuff, which I think is really what DC wants out of this comic book, and it serves that purpose. So in that respect, it's a good comic book. If you would look at just the story, it's a bad comic book. But the art is really good, so it's a good comic book. It's an okay comic book.
You're doing the exact same thing I did. Like there are parts I really like about it, and
and then there's the end, right?
And then it just doesn't. Objectively, it's not a good story.
So I keep coming back to the fact that I bought Batman comics monthly for 9 years after this, so obviously something was good about it.
So naive. You wanted answers. They were not coming.
I mean, a little bit. I mean, I bought freaking Hush Returns. So, like, obviously I enjoyed something about this comic book. And, like, the art's so good. Like, I would put this up against, like, basically any other Batman comic for art, honestly.
The art is top tier.
And like, especially as a person who's just coming into, let's say you've seen the animated series or whatever, you've read like a couple comic books, you're coming into Batman comics from there, like this gives you all this stuff. It gives you a little bit more maybe than you need because it's got Harold the Mechanic and the Riddler coming out of a Lazarus pit at the end, but like
that's right. Yeah.
It gives you Batman and Nightwing's relationship. It gives you Batman and Tim Drake's relationship. It gives you Huntress, who at the time was a thing. Mm-hmm. Like it gives you Batman and Jim Gordon and like how they're tied together against like the cesspit that is Gotham City. Like it has all the good stuff in it. Yeah, like none of it is the best execution of any of that stuff, I would think. Like if you were like, I like this bit of Hush, I can point you to various stories that are like, hey, read this one instead though.
Sure, but I mean, it's a gateway to that.
Exactly.
Like if you really liked this character, pursue these books.
So I think it is successful in that, like, if someone reads it, like, you can convince someone to read it and they will like it at least up until the end, and they might even like it through the end because they might not think about it too much or they might be 12 years old because it's cool, right? Like, it's cool as hell. So, yeah, I'm like, is it good? No. Is it cool? Yes. I don't know which of those matters more, honestly.
For comic books?
For comic books.
Probably cool.
Yeah. It's kind of cool, right? Like...
do you have any recommendations? I'm sure that there's tons you can branch off of this.
I actually didn't think about it because I was thinking about recommendations for Supergirl.
Batman, Superman, Supergirl. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
You can just continue to follow the Jeph Loeb train into Batman, Superman, Public Enemies, and then Batman, Superman, Supergirl. And then I would get off of it at, I don't remember what the third volume is actually called, but the third volume is where it starts to like deal with DC stuff that I personally have no investment in. It's like the Freedom Fighters and Legion of Superheroes villains and stuff. And I'm like, let's get off of that. Let's be done. But then it picks up again. So the Batman Superman series overall is a decent read.
I mean, if you liked this quasi mystery, Long Halloween is also a trip and also falls apart at the end. So.
Long Halloween's another one where I'm like, is it good by the end? But at the same time, I was invested enough in it to write a like 2,000 word blog post about it. It's probably longer than that, actually.
And the art is so good. Like, it's a classic. There are so many callbacks to that throughout all Batman media. You should probably read it if you're a Batman fan.
I mean, there are callbacks to it in Hush, essentially, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Long Halloween's good. I mean, honestly, if you somehow get to the end of this and you're like, I want to know more about Hush, skip Hush Returns, skip it. Pick up Heart of Hush by Paul Dini and Dustin, I'm going to mispronounce this, Nugent, I think, something like that. It's in their Detective Comics run. It's actually good.
Sweet. I think we've reached the end.
I think so.
We've done it.
We did Hush. Hush.
Hush, little baby.
Is that a Metallica song? It is a Metallica song. Am I nuts?
I thought you were referring to the fact that we were going to read Sandman and they have a song called Enter Sandman when you were talking about Metallica before.
That's probably what I'm talking about.
The lyrics for when I type Metallica Hush, it's in Enter Sandman. It's Hush Little Baby, Don't Say a Word.
That's exactly, that's where, that's where it's at. I did it. I did the thing with the thing.
Mike, you contain multitudes, sir.
You have layers.
I'm like a fucking onion.
And I want to thank this onion for joining us tonight. I've missed this onion. So
I have missed this onion, actually.
It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. I will endeavor to return.
If people wanted to find you on the interwebs, do you have any place you would like to direct them to?
Well, I have this 4-year-old blog post.
Oh my God, you need to write another one. So the first blog post is epic.
It's very good, to the point where both Kat and I are like, why didn't he keep writing blog posts? Although, again, it's understandable. Turns out you're a father now.
Well, I've been thinking about it again. I have thoughts on things, and I should write them down.
You should jot them down before you forget.
I've mostly been forgetting.
Especially as you keep getting older, I heard that you forget more things.
Well, I've never been good at the whole remembering thing. So I mean,
if you chronicle your rants for future ages, I think everyone would benefit from it. So
honestly, even if you just wrote every year on the anniversary of the Half-Life 3 stuff about Half-Life 3, I think that's a blog right there.
Honestly, it would get traction.
That
so you should do
might be something I'll start doing. We'll do it.
So what is that blog called?
I can't.
Do you remember?
I can't even remember.
I remember. These are the druiges.wordpress.com.
Thank you. These are the druiges.wordpress.org.
I will find it and put it in the show notes because it is actually good.
Play Half-Life. It's good.
As always, if you want to get in touch with Pat or myself, you can find us on Twitter as @thehypnotoad and @MattLedge, respectively. You can email us at waitingonthetrade@gmail.com, and you can find more comics-related goodness like this at mattreadscomics.com. Next month, we're going to have Mike Drew back for a Mike Drew double feature. We're going to actually talk about Batman, Superman, Supergirl, because I will not let my 2 pages of notes go to waste.